Welcome back to Pursuing Justice. I'm Harriet Hendel, and today we are talking about reentry, and we have been doing that for the last several podcasts. We had a guest on a couple weeks ago from Sarasota, Florida, who started Project 180. That's a residential program, very, very limited to, I think, about 12 men who live in the two homes that Barbara managed to get for them. But now we have John Eldon, who has a very different take on reentry. He started After Innocence, also a nonprofit, and his group serves 48 states. And his program, we would say, is a post-release justice for Americans who've been wrongly convicted and sent to prison. So we're going to, it's based in Oakland, California, by the way. We're going to continue our discussion about After Innocence and like to pick it up with John. Welcome back, John.
Thank you.
All right. So last time we talked about what I guess I would call your target areas, healthcare, legal services, and social services, and how you reach out to people and try to find out what it is that they are needing in their lives after they get out of prison. It's such a tremendous challenge to come back into a world that you have left maybe 25 years ago. I'm thinking about some of the exonerees at the Innocence Project of Florida, some of whom have been out of society and in prison for as long as 35 years, as long as 43 years, and imagine what it must be like to come back into a very, very different world. So how do you even find some of these people that you are helping with your services?
A combination of ways. As you mentioned, one of the things that's unique about our project or approach to reentry is that we are trying to assist and make services available on an ongoing basis to the entire exoneree population in America, precisely because there's never really been any help for them. And so even if they've been out for a while meaning 5 years or 10 years or even 20 years, chances are great that they will make very good use of the services we're offering. And it's our obligation to treat them not as people that just got out too soon to get help, but people that we're very interested in embracing and helping to the extent that we can. You asked how we find them. So it's a combination of ways. When your audience reads about an exoneration in the United States, there's a very good chance that we are involved hopefully immediately or very, very soon after. And we get involved through our colleagues in the Innocence organization, in the Innocence community, made up of Innocence organizations across the country, most or nearly all of them as part of the Innocence Network, of which After Innocence is a part. So our colleagues tip us off or give us a call. Hey, we're getting this person out. Can we get together and start working on things that we have a great deal of expertise in, because these individual projects, most of them, are not dealing with a large number of exonerations every year, not because they're not doing great work, but because it's such hard work. And their projects are typically quite small that you don't get the experience of handling 5 or 10 or more exonerations in a given short period of time. And therefore, doing something like getting a photo ID during COVID, which is incredibly difficult enough, believe it or not, without COVID, but during the pandemic is exceptionally difficult. And we're able to get in there very quickly and help with them on that and many other things, critical things, including healthcare. And they know that we can provide the expertise in getting these things started and getting them done quickly. So our colleagues are the ones who link us. Occasionally, it's lawyers who've heard of the work that we do. And other times, it's me on the phone calling the lawyer, trying to reach the exoneree, which can be incredibly difficult, but trying to get in there and offer services. And when we can, we always try to get to them as quickly as possible through outreach. So those are the people who get out on a week over week basis.
I see.
But there's another piece to it, and the other piece to it is, as I mentioned, Our project is about trying to get to every exoneree in America. And so on a week over week basis, we are searching for contact information, trying to find a way to reach an exoneration that we've read about on the National Registry of Exonerations or on some other resource that is. So in addition to trying to get to people, of course, who are just getting out of prison from wrongful conviction, we serve the entire exoneree population in America, and our goal is to reach every single one of them with this offer of support. And so that means that we are researching old cases. Many of them we first find out about on the National Registry of Exonerations, and trying to get a hold of those people, which is a strange business of trying to track someone down or a lawyer or someone who knows them and trying to get them on the phone and introduce this work. And one of the great parts of this is that if we can actually manage to get someone on the phone, whether they've been out of prison for 5 years or 10 years or much longer, once we get them on the phone, we are able to explain what we do and give them an opportunity to find out for themselves. They can do independent research online. They can talk to other people to make sure that we are who we say we are. And we have a very, very high chance of being able to then do work with them. And not long ago, it was probably October, I found someone on the National Registry of Exonerations who had been exonerated in 1976. At the time, 6 years old. And after some hunting, I found a number for him and I called him up and I introduced myself and I introduced our project. And he paused and he said, "You realize that I've been out of prison for 44 years. And I said, "Oh, yes, I do. And I'm sorry we're late. I'm sorry, but we're here now." And like almost every one of them, they say, "Wow, I really wish there had been something like this when we first got out." And that's an unfortunate reality, but that's not a reason to not do this work. That's a reason to do it for many more people and more intensively. And that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. Now, I have mentioned the National Registry of exonerations before, but my feeling is it is worth mentioning again. Sometimes, there may be new listeners that didn't hear me. It is a wonderful website, and it tracks men and women who have been wrongfully convicted and imprisoned. The current tally, I happened to have checked yesterday, is 2,708 exonerees, and the registry has been keeping track only since 1989. So the entire stories of each exoneree are there, and you can read about each case, and you can sit there probably for the next year and read about all of these different men and women. So that's a great source for you, I would assume, right? The registry.
It's an incredibly important resource. I think that our work would be, I can't imagine our work without the registry because of its thoroughness and the fact that it is ongoing, like our project. So, how are we as a society to know about wrongful conviction? There's a lot of newspaper headlines. There are documentaries that come and go on Netflix and sure. Other streaming sites. There really needs to be a monument to this issue, to these people, to what happened, and it needs to be something living and ongoing. And the National Registry of Exonerations is a very, very good effort in that direction. Every day they are working to identify cases from the past, to track current cases, and it is an academic standard. It's maintained by the University of California, Irvine, and a serious team of researchers and award-winning journalists. And I'm very, very proud to be working with the registry and really see it as one of the really unsung heroes of our movement, because without it, we wouldn't have a reference point. Each of the organizations features its own clients, understandably, but what about everybody else? And one of the things we learned from the registry is that more than half of the people who are wrongfully convicted and then released in America are released not without sort of assistance or connection to any kind of formal organization. And that informed our work to say, hey, we got to go out and find those people, because relying just on our colleagues, we won't get to everyone. And our goal is to get to everyone and to offer them all something serious and helpful and sustainable. And we're a good ways in that direction. You mentioned there are 2,700 or so people listed on the registry. Many of them have passed. Many of them are unreachable. But we're going to get to every single, all the rest of them as quickly as resources will allow.
All right. What would you say? I know this is a funny sort of question to ask, but I don't know. I guess I want to give my listeners a scope. What would you say is the population of exonerees at the present time? Now, that's not counting necessarily those who show up on the registry. I'm sure there are those who don't. Would that be right to say?
I think it would definitely be right to say. One of the, you could argue that maybe some of those people on the registry shouldn't be there, but a much stronger argument is there, and we have the proof of this, is that there are many, 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 many more people who just aren't listed yet. The reason for that is that these cases, have to be researched. There's no justice system database for these things. So it is certainly an undercount. The related question for your listeners is this. If you believe and take seriously, as everyone should, that we will make mistakes in everything we do, that justice system will not be an exception to that, which means that if you believe in wrongful conviction, you have to believe that we're going to put the wrong person in prison, the wrong person meaning a person who had nothing to do with the crime, and that while we should work very hard to reform the system and minimize that, we are never going to get it perfectly right. There will always be wrongful convictions. We should try and minimize them, but we cannot delude ourselves into believing they won't be there. They won't happen. And there are some corollary conclusions we should really be honest about. And there, at least two of them are these. If you believe in wrongful conviction and you believe that we are going to be, sadly, tragically, imprisoning people for crimes that they did not commit, then at any given time, we don't know not only who they are after they've been released, but critically, we don't know right now as we sit here today who in each prison in America is factually innocent as the day is long.
Right.
The other thing, which is terribly upsetting, is that we know we won't find them all.
No.
And some of them who are serving life without parole sentences, maybe some of them who are on death row, we will not be perfect in convicting people correctly, if you want to use that term, although I know it's very complicated. Let me say it differently. We will not be perfect in avoiding convicting and incarcerating people who had nothing to do with the crimes that they were convicted of, nor will we be perfect in identifying those very same people who are in prison and getting them out. That should give us all pause to how we view the justice system, how we view ourselves, and how we view the very concept of error and how well we're prepared to deal with it and its consequences. And After Innocence is looking at one consequence of that error, which is if you're going to have a justice system, you're going to, in some number, convict people who in fact did not do the crime. Once you find those people, your obligation is not only to try vigorously to find those people, and free them, but also to take care of them and make some amends after they get out. And we are about that last